This podcast is part of the Michigan Sports and Entertainment Podcast Network. Go to michigansportsandentertainment.com for more great podcasts.
Hey everyone, this is Austin.
What's going on, guys? This is John.
And you're listening to the Voice of the Fan Sports Podcast. Okay, John, we're back. Seems like we're on and off every other week now. Well, that's because I was sick last week and I just really couldn't muster up losing my voice for talking for an hour, surprisingly.
I tried a solo career, didn't go well.
Couldn't quite figure it out, but hey, we're better as a team anyway. So
exactly, agreed.
But hey, it's tournament time. Starting tomorrow night, first round. Well, not tomorrow night, but tomorrow we'll have games on. I know Purdue plays at 9:50 against Old Dominion. We'll talk about that here in a second. We'll talk about the ouch loss to Minnesota again in the Big Ten men's tournament quarterfinal. And then we'll probably just run through some first picks that I have on, our bracket. John, and you could probably do the same. And then we'll probably end up doing the same thing tomorrow for Michigan State's episode. But, hey, that's all right. But yeah, other than that, I mean, we're kind of just getting into that, not lull period, but we're getting close.
I was just thinking about that, like, man, if Michigan State and Purdue, both just like losing the Sweet 16 or something, and we're 2 weeks into the tournament, there's no more Michigan State and Purdue, and then we're just kind of sitting here like, well, we got spring ball. I know today was the first day for Michigan State in pads.
That was the sixth day of practice for Purdue. Everyone came back from spring break. Nice. So we had.
I watched a good mic'd up video that I seen you like on Twitter about. I think it was a running back maybe with one of the
Tario Fuller.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah, that full one came out. So yeah, if you're listening and you haven't checked any the Twitter videos out from Purdue football, they mic a player up and they follow him around all practice. This year they've been doing some interviews with the player and just talking with them. And then obviously clips of them in practice, goofing around. David Bell was at practice today. Tara Fuller was chilling with him for a hot second, so that was pretty cool to see. Cameo by Rondell Moore. Waiting for the mic'd up where George Karlaftis finally makes his first appearance, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So, but yeah, Purdue football has been in kind of a full swing, so to speak, as they approach their spring game here in really just a couple weeks in April. So exciting stuff coming down the pipe for Purdue football. I know I'm excited for everything to get going with the class and all that. So it'll probably be something that we talk about, but we'll focus in on Purdue basketball. And before I get too lost, we'll dive in here.
That was mainly my fault, but
well, it's only 4 minutes, so that's pretty solid.
We're actually doing a lot better then.
Yeah. Well, and if I want to get both of our picks in for the first round, I need to hurry up. So
yeah, I guess you got a point. There's a lot of games.
So we'll start with the not rough, but the loss in the Big Ten men's tournament in the quarterfinal. Purdue had the bye and got Minnesota, who had just beaten them in Minnesota a couple weeks prior, and basically stole Purdue's outright Big Ten title away from them, so to speak. Obviously, we know now they beat Minnesota and would have had the outright title. But I guess it works out in a weird way because we, John predicted Purdue to win the Big Ten. I predicted Michigan State would win the Big Ten. And as luck would have it, they both won the Big Ten. So kind of interesting, obviously with the shared titles, but hey, we're both right. So that ended up working out pretty nicely. More so for John because Michigan State has been a pretty consistent top 10 team for a while now, minus some hiccups versus Purdue starting 6-5 and having to battle in and getting some help from some other teams, including Michigan State losing. So Anyway, kind of jumping back into the quarterfinal game. I mean, it was just you felt it at Minnesota, the way they were playing. And it was really just the same thing kind of happened where Jordan Murphy and Amir Coffey just were too much really for Purdue. Jordan Murphy finished with 27 points. Amir Coffey finished with 21. And, I mean, it just looked like they dominated the entire time. Obviously Purdue lost by 2, and Carson missed a game-winning shot at the buzzer. But, I mean, there was just, I don't know. Minnesota has length and they're athletic, and I've always thought Purdue has struggled against teams with that kind of combination. Amir Coffey kind of presents a unique challenge with his ability to drive to the basket, and obviously spread the floor with his shooting. Nojo Eastern did a pretty good job, I would say. It's tough to slow someone like that down, but the damage came, Jordan Murphy really just having his way. And Daniel Oturu had a double-double. It was really just tough to keep Minnesota off the glass. It's reassuring that Purdue was kind of hanging in there, and it really just didn't feel great, kind of like the Minnesota game, at Minnesota. And credit to Purdue for kind of hanging in there, and giving themselves a chance to get back in it. Carson Edwards was banged up. He had a lower back strain, I believe, was kind of limping around. Didn't have, another game where it wasn't great. I think he was 4 for 17 from the floor, 1 for 8 from 3. So he did score 11 points, but again, not something, not a great outing. But really, Ryan Klein, 5 of 11, so just under 50%, 4 of 10 from 3. Matt Harms had himself a good game, which is good because you want to see him build confidence. Travion Williams finally played longer than 3 minutes. He was 4 for 7, 9 rebounds. I just can't stress the importance of him staying in the game. And he's a freshman, and he'll be a step behind on defense in the play. But Purdue's just got to figure out a way to keep him in the game, because Matt Harms, obviously 27 minutes, 16 points, really good, job. But he's going to need some breaks. And sometimes, Travion Williams really is confident in his skill set, and he sees the floor really well with his passing. And I think he just brings a dynamic to Purdue that we've come, to be familiar with. Whereas the Biggie Swanigans, the Isaac Haas, AJ Hammond, they all had really good post offense, good post moves, confident in themselves. And it was almost an inside out type of offense for Purdue. Whereas if, the guards aren't getting it together quite yet, you can just put it down low and let the big men work. So I don't think Purdue has established their identity this year with that. And obviously Carson Edwards had a really good year for the most part. Excuse me. So it's tough. Minnesota did a really good job. They had 4 people in double figures, 4 or 5 starters. They didn't really get much bench contribution, but just unable to keep Minnesota off the glass. And it was, not necessarily being out rebounded for the game, but the big ones, second chance points, or Minnesota winning a 50-50 ball on a Purdue offensive possession. So again, Purdue did a really good job of making a run kind of late, like they did in Mackey Arena, and took the lead late. Minnesota responded, and obviously Carson Edwards had a pretty good look from the corner and missed. So, but this might not be, such a bad thing. Obviously it stings. Purdue would have gotten to face Michigan again, which I know I kind of wanted to see, but maybe again, it's not such a bad thing for Purdue, because obviously you still made the tournament. Your best player's a little bit banged up, and you want that extra rest for him to, be 100% because this is now kind of the important time for for Purdue coming in the NCAA tournament. And we escaped the bracket of death. That is the Midwest, where North Carolina, Auburn, Kansas, Houston, and Kentucky all lie, which is a crazy lineup. So the 3 seed in the South is pretty solid for me, and that's what we're going to roll into right now. We're facing 14 seed Old Dominion. Really, and Purdue has done it in the past where they've been upset. I think they're not on upset alert this year, as previous years, like Little Rock, Arkansas, that ended up beating them late in the first round, which was really rough. So really just trying to look for Carson Edwards in this game to find himself. And I think he really needs to kind of revert back to that Ohio State game where he was just he was excellent. And that's a pass first look. I love his aggressiveness. I love his ability to go get his own shot. When Purdue is a little stagnant, a little hesitant, he's not afraid. But there are definitely times where there's another look other than peeling off a screen and shooting a 3 that he's successful at. And that's finding his teammates, putting them in a good position to succeed. And that honestly loosens the defense up on him, because they're going to have to start honoring open looks or the extra man coming in for an easy basket because they're double teaming Carson on the top of the key. They're going to have to respect that, because otherwise if they don't, it's going to be all day. And when that happens, it just frees him up to be able to be more athletic's not the right word, but he has the ability to turn the corner and drive. He has obviously the shooting ability, and it's a little easier to do that when the defense is thinking about other options outside of Edwards. And that's, really what I'm looking for as far as Carson Edwards is concerned. On the flip side, I don't really know much about Old Dominion. It's their first time in the tournament since 2011. They did win the Conference USA regular season and the tournament for CUSA. It looks like BJ Stith is their best in scoring and rebounding at 16.9 a game, points-wise 7.5 rebounds. And then Ahmad Kaver's got 5.6 assists, averaging 16.5 points per game. So, certainly not a team that you want to sleep on, but definitely one where you're going to feel good about. They're 3-11 all time in the NCAA tournament. They've got a good squad, but it's just, I think just Purdue, just kind of when Purdue loses to some better teams because of athletes and talent, I think that's kind of be the case. Obviously, anything can happen in March, which is why it's so fun and so awesome. But
I've been on the wrong side of that the last few years.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing, obviously last year Purdue lost Isaac Haas, beat whoever team, low seed, pretty handily, but that was where basically the hook rule came in this year. Is Isaac Haas was hooked, taken to the ground, broke his elbow. Purdue lost him for the tournament, and that was when the 4 seniors were humming this team, Carson Edwards complimenting, Ryan Klein being an extra guy. And you really wonder what could have happened if Purdue would have had their star senior in the lineup against Kansas, where it was not necessarily no chance from the get-go, but Kansas kind of just ran him out because the athleticism, Purdue just didn't have an answer to slow him down. So, but, that's neither here nor there. So really, again, I'm not ready. Not that I'm ready, not predicting an upset. I just really don't think it's going to happen. I think Purdue's got a really good shot, a strong chance against Old Dominion. And I think they're going to come out on top. Not necessarily be an easy win, but it's going to be a win. And again, really for me, I'm looking at Carson Edwards. What does he look like? What's he doing? And honestly, it's a seesaw somewhat of, do I want him to, if he has a bad game, I'd rather be the first one, kind of get out of a system, or because it's been so consistent recently, do I need to see improvement? Do I need to see a better Carson Edwards, so to speak, kind of, going through the game. And, maybe if he's still banged up, which it sounds like he might be a little bit, obviously lower back is a different scenario for most people. I want Purdue to get out ahead and want them to rest. So again, really, that's tomorrow night, 9:50. It's a late night game, 9:50 p.m. on TBS. Purdue is the heavy favorite, and I don't think, Purdue is going to run into any issues. It's not like Murray State with whatever that top 5 lottery pick is on their team.
Yeah, John Morant.
Yep.
Stud.
Yes, agreed. So I feel sorry for Marquette having to face him. But speaking of other teams outside the Big Ten and specifically Purdue, yeah, that's really it as far as Purdue's concerned. Purdue had their 6th spring practice for football. We're gearing up for the spring game in a couple of weeks, but outside of that, there's not really much to say about that. But John, it's tournament time, so why don't we go ahead and run through the round of 64 since that starts tomorrow?
Yep.
And I'm sure we'll have to figure out a time to maybe get. I don't know. Maybe we'll. Tomorrow. Yeah, it's at 9:50, but we need to figure out a time to record. But we'll discuss that after.
Yeah,
this.
You guys can hear our planning live on the show.
So yeah, man, it's tournament time. Let's talk through the round of 64 here to the best of our ability. There's a lot of teams, so I'm not expecting full analysis on everybody, but
where we start in East, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, let's start in the East. Duke and North Dakota State, the number 1 overall seed.
It was really tough not to pick the North Dakota State. God, I forgot their team name already, but you're gonna have to go with Duke in this one, Austin.
Yeah, the Bison are pretty good in football in their division,
and they're only 19-15. I didn't even have any interest in looking at their team because it's Duke and 16. But wow, yeah, Duke all the way.
Yeah, I think it's no brainer. Zion Williamson is incredible. So, and then just that team in itself is, they're so stacked. It's tough to.
The interesting thing about Duke, though, is they're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. If you have a team that's deep, like roster-wise, and can throw a lot of, and they don't shoot well at the free throw line, and can throw a lot of fouls at guys like Zion, the team could have a chance. So,
but that won't be happening.
Not North Dakota State
against North Dakota State.
There's like 2 teams in this region I think can beat Duke.
Wow, I think only one. Honestly, I'm not even sure who could beat Duke, but we'll get there. So the next matchup, we've got the VCU Rams, I believe, who have, if people remember, that was Shaka Smart's old team, and Purdue fans remember the first year VCU made a Cinderella run was back, 2010, when Purdue had Juwan Johnson and Etuan Moore. Robbie Hummel, ironically enough, had torn his ACL against Minnesota, was out, because I think if we had him, we have a shot at the title, but it wasn't to be. Made it to, I think it was the Elite Eight. And we run into some no-name school, the VCU Rams, that beat us, upset us. And ever since then, in my mind, they have been a consistent, strong presence as a tournament team. Obviously, Shaka Smart is at Texas, and Texas is in the NIT after an up-and-down year. But so we got VCU, and then UCF, who I think is they've got like that immensely tall kid.
They have Taco Fall, who's 7'6", and they got BJ Taylor, who leads the team in scoring for a 3rd straight season. I don't remember if he's a senior or if he's a junior, but that's veteran leadership right there. And then you got a guy with 7'6", so that's a positive. If I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't watched much of UCF or VCU this season, but I have UCF moving forward to play Duke.
Yeah, and I do too, just because I know that 7'6" guy, and he doesn't even have to play the whole time. I just
Mm-hmm.
know that he's there, and VCU's not going to have anybody that can really do
Yeah,
anything
it's not
against them.
Shaka Smart's VCU either.
Exactly. Obviously they can kind of continue the culture, but like you said, John, not the same VCU Rams we're used to. So I'm confident UCF is going to move on. So we'll move right along here to the third matchup: Mississippi State, the 5 seed versus 12 seed Liberty. I won't lie, I don't really know about either of these two teams. I know 5-12. Yeah, I know 5 and 12. 5 seed versus 12 seed is usually where you're looking for upsets,
Mm-hmm.
where you start looking for upsets rather. Honestly, I just haven't really heard anything, and I'm going Mississippi State.
Yeah, I watched a couple of games of Mississippi State this year. Don't love them, but I have not watched or really read much about Liberty, so I went with Mississippi State as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was just kind of. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to see. I mean, Liberty's 4-6 versus the top 25, so that's not horrible for versus Mississippi State's 1-5. So, I guess, man, I might have to look at that one. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with Mississippi State. But Liberty is definitely an interesting team. Reading more into this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about them. But yeah, I think Mississippi State, man. That's what I'm sticking with, and
Trying to see if
yeah, I'm trying to look a little.
trying to look.
But
I don't see any ranked teams that they beat. I don't know where they got that record from.
it may have been like a top 50 teams.
Is it top 25?
Oh, huh.
But whatever. Screw you, CBS Sports, for lying to me.
So we'll go ahead and go to Virginia Tech and St. Louis. I'm going with Virginia Tech. Purdue played
Agreed.
them. They
really good defensively.
They've got a really good kind of team chemistry. Put together pretty well. They did decently in the ACC. So just from the experience of beating Purdue, I'm going with Virginia Tech just because of the consistency they showed. I think they maybe dropped out of the top 25 once, but they were pretty consistently in there. So
I think this is my most boring region out of all the regions with like upsets and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's really maybe like one or two in here that we'll probably get to here in a second. But Virginia Tech. St. Louis. I remember them being a Cinderella team a little while ago, but they just really haven't been the the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not seeing. I think Virginia Tech's well put together well enough that it won't be an issue. So moving right along here.
Are we going to disagree on ones that are coming up, or what's happening?
We might. I don't know. I do not know. So we'll look at Maryland and Belmont. So 6 seed versus the 11 seed.
Yeah.
Obviously Maryland plays in the Big Ten, so kind of familiar with them. Versus Belmont, I know Belmont just played. I think it was last night.
They beat Temple.
Temple's a good squad, I would say. But it's Bruno Fernando?
Yeah, I was going to say, Bruno Fernando, and they have another big. I think his last name is Smith. And they have Anthony Cowan Jr. who can score. As much as I love Belmont, I just think Maryland's a tough matchup for them. And the NCAA tournament, as much as we love upsets, matchups are the most important thing. And I just don't see Belmont matching up well with Bruno Fernando, and I'm not remembering the other kid's name who plays with Bruno. Just not being able to stick with them. So I'm gonna go with Maryland here, but Belmont is scary. They can shoot the lights out and they can score. So, I mean, they average almost 90 points per game. Belmont played Purdue, lost by 11, and then they beat Murray State, lost to Murray State, and those were really their only key games that they have listed here. So, a fun fact, apparently, number 11 seeds have won 8 of 12 meetings with 6 seeds over in the past 3 years. God, I hate all these facts. Makes me overthink everything.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a lot of expert picks, and a lot of them have – it was before they even knew it was Belmont. But I think Maryland's going to be locked in. So,
yeah, I like Maryland. I think they struggled in the Big Ten. I'm pretty sure they started like 16-3 is what I just read. And I know they were off to – yeah, Maryland after 16-3 started the season. Yeah, because they kind of just faded in the Big Ten a little bit, which, it was one of the better Big Ten seasons. So, and they were the 5 seed, I believe, in the Big Ten, maybe 6, something like that. Oh yeah, the 6, or I don't know, I don't remember. Anyways, that doesn't matter. But yeah, I like Maryland a lot, so I got Maryland beating Belmont. I think Maryland could actually potentially maybe make the Elite Eight, or not Elite Eight, the Sweet 16.
Yeah, they'll certainly have a tough matchup with. We'll go to the next one, LSU Yale. Obviously LSU has the coaching scandal.
Yep.
But they played really. I just feel like they played a really strong year. I can't remember. I think they lost to Florida in the SEC tournament, but they're just a really talented team. And I just don't think Yale has a chance, to be honest.
And looking at their resume, I mean, they don't really have. They beat Kentucky, beat Tennessee, lost to Houston, lost to Florida State, beat Mississippi State, and beat Auburn. So they got some wins there. I mean, they're 26-6. Yeah, the coaching thing's there. They can score, and so can Yale. But Yale played all 3 of Yale's key games were losses. They lost to Duke by 33. Lost to Memphis by 7, lost to Vermont by 9. So I think Yale's one of those popular 14 seeds that people like. I just personally don't see it.
Yeah, agreed. I just think LSU is going to win on that one. So we'll get to the first probably question mark game maybe. We've got Louisville and Minnesota.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for tomorrow's episode. I have a list of conspiracy theories for Selection Sunday to give you. See what you think. It involves one of them in this game.
Huh.
So, yeah, this one's really tough because.
Ooh, bless
you. But bless yourself.
I know. I was trying to mute my mic, but I was on the wrong page, so that wasn't going to happen.
Louisville is probably one of the most confusing teams I've watched all season. They beat Michigan State, who was without Matt McQuaid and Langford, but I mean, we still should have won. Lost Cassius late in that game. They beat North Carolina once, lost to them twice, lost to Kentucky, lost to Indiana, lost to Tennessee, lost to Duke by 2 in that famous comeback game.
Yeah.
I think Louisville's kind of on the right track. But this is another familiarity game for me with Minnesota. And I just think if Minnesota can put something together with Jordan Murphy, Amir Coffey, and Arturo, their freshman big man, who's going to be a pain to deal with, just like Jordan Murphy's been. God, I really don't want to see either of these teams in the next round if we win. But, man, I have... Let's see what I'm going to go with who I picked. I picked Louisville, so I was trying to talk myself into Minnesota there, but I picked Louisville according to my bracket, so I'll stick with it.
I think I'm going to...
I lied to you, Austin.
Oh.
I had Yale beating LSU in my bracket, but...
Very bold.
I'm changing that right now.
Bold strategy right there.
I'm changing it right now. I'm glad we're doing this because I'm deciding on a couple of my picks here. All right, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
But so you've got Louisville winning?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Louisville can be dangerous with the defense they play, and I'm pretty sure Chris Mack's their coach, right?
Yep.
It is going to be interesting to see if Pitino can help his son, Pitino, who coaches Minnesota a little bit with Louisville and their players, but I think Louisville edges out Minnesota. I think Minnesota, what's going to kill them is I don't think they have a lot of depth on their team. Jordan Murphy and Oturo, and then I can't think of their point guard's name, but other than that, they don't really have anybody else who can come in, and Amir Coffey, obviously, outside of those four guys and give you much of anything. So I think Louisville just kind of outgrinds Minnesota. I don't really think it's going to be that entertaining of a game, to be honest. Just kind of like grind it out, 5-point win for somebody, but I got Louisville winning it.
I see kind of some of the the points that you're making with Louisville.
Ooh, we're about to disagree. Sweet.
We are. But I just think the way Minnesota's playing, and yes, they lost to the Michigan. Michigan just when they're on, they're on. When they're not, they're not. But I just think Minnesota just poses problems. Amir Coffey is just really hard to stop. And, Jordan Murphy, again, a senior, knows what he's doing, down low in the post. I just think, looking at Louisville's track record with some teams, again, with some consistent, like just big athletic guys, kind of like what Purdue faces. Obviously you can't really compare it to, Tennessee and the Dukes and, to that but looking at Louisville's loss against IU,
Michigan State lost to IU twice.
Well, that Big Ten play is different.
I agree. So and that was also when Indiana was playing somewhat decent.
What do you look at? What did Indiana have? They had an athletic big, guard. Obviously, I can't sit here and compare Romeo Langford to Amir Coffey because one is apparently a top 5 pick and the other is not. But a big guy and a big shooting guard basically, and then a big down low that is experienced. And Juwan Morgan for Indiana is a softer version of Jordan Murphy for Minnesota. So
I can see it.
I'm going Minnesota over Louisville.
Before we spend too much time on this, the key point in my decision here was kind of looking at when they played teams, and Louisville just has, like, obviously Minnesota beat Purdue in 2 big time games, back against the wall games. But other than that, lost to Michigan 3 times, got destroyed by Michigan State, lost to Maryland twice. And Louisville's lost some games, but they've also beat North Carolina and Michigan State. And even though they lost to Duke, they ended up losing to Duke. If a team like that can get hot and go up by 20, 22 points on a Duke team, if they get hot like that against Minnesota and go up 15, I don't see Minnesota being able to dig themselves out of that.
Yeah, and that's fair. So agree to disagree.
Yep. Moving on. It's my first upset. Just kidding.
Oh.
God, I hope not. You won't hear from me for a while if we lose another 15 seed.
It has happened. I don't see it happening here.
No.
Michigan State all the way. And I think that there's not really an explanation.
We're not going to really get into this much. Wow, we're 10-1 versus top 25 teams. Thanks, Austin. God.
You're welcome.
Actually, we should be 10-2 because CBS, you're off everything because Kansas beat us and you guys beat us. So, anyways, Bradley's not that good. They just kind of won their tournament. They're really bad on offense. They can shoot the 3. Michigan State's second in the country in defending the 2-point shot, and Bradley's one of the worst teams in the country going inside. So, I don't see Bradley really, unless it's some weird thing going on in Michigan State's head to where they're overthinking everything. I don't see Bradley having a chance in this game. Not the way Michigan State's been playing.
Yep, I agree. Michigan State all the way. Which takes us to
Gonzaga next.
Yep. I don't even know who they're playing, but yes.
Fairleigh Dickinson. So we'll move on to one of the most boring games in the NCAA tournament, in my opinion. Syracuse and Baylor.
I'm going Q's.
Yeah, I'm going Q's as well. Not really going to get into this one. 2 teams play 100% zone. Going to be a really low-scoring, boring game. And then who we got next?
Man, I might really backtrack on this LSU pick. They are like on upset alert.
I know, dude.
Oof.
That's what I'm thinking, but it's like,
Man, I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to do some thinking on that.
I'm going through tomorrow because I think we have till noon. I'm gonna do some digging on Yale and kind of see if I can find anything on LSU and how serious. Like I know the coaching thing's serious, but it's like I feel like they can like just beat Yale. Like I feel.
Yeah, apparently Yale's a really good 3-point shooting team, which I understand, but without spending too much more time on it, I just you live and die by the three, and it doesn't really matter how good you are. If you're off one night, you're done. And LSU can go down low and score. So
look at IE, Michigan State, Middle Tennessee State. Michigan State didn't play bad at all. Middle Tennessee State just shot like 75% from the 3-point line and hit like 17 of them. So. It just is nothing Michigan State could do. That team was on that night. So I guess that could happen to LSU, but I don't see it, I guess. I don't know. Call me stupid.
I don't know. But we'll move along here. Marquette, Murray State.
Murray State.
I agree.
This is another one of those interesting, like, this wasn't like part of the conspiracies, but this is a really interesting thing where I kind of think the committee matches games up. You have literally the two top scorers in the country going up against each other in round one, and Ja Morant and Marcus Howard. So, I love Marquette. I think this is a really unfortunate matchup for them to get. I think Ja Morant is a guy that you can just kind of go to and just kind of let him do his thing. I mean, he kind of reminds me of like a skinnier Russell Westbrook. So, I think Murray State beats Marquette.
And I'm right there with you. I think that guard is going to take over. And, Marquette outside of Howard, I am not impressed with. So,
yeah, I agree.
Murray State moves us along. Vermont, Florida State. I'm Florida State. They are lengthy. They are athletic.
Yeah, Florida State's a sleeper Final Four team. They can defend. And I agree. I think Leonard Hamilton's the coach's name. He's really underrated. I like Florida State a lot, especially watching them. Even though they lost to Duke in the finals, I thought they really defended well. Especially, if you watch the game they played against Virginia, so they can beat good teams. You defend well, good things can happen for you. And like you said, they're really lengthy, so I like Florida State in this one too.
Yes, I agree. That brings us to Buffalo, and I guess it's Arizona State or St. John University. They're going to play.
Yeah, they're playing tonight. Shout out to Marvin Clark Jr. on St. John's, former Michigan State Spartan. I love Buffalo a lot. I really like this Buffalo team. So I as much as I like Arizona State's Lugwins Dort, who I thought had Michigan State had a chance at him. Obviously went to Arizona State. I think he's a talented kid. But I just think Buffalo's really good. I mean, obviously they don't play the toughest conference, but you go 31-3. You're a team that can be. Obviously they're a 6 seed too, which is kind of interesting for a team like them. So I'm trying to see if they have
They upset someone last year as a double-digit seed, and I want to say it was Arizona, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, and we haven't seen really them play anybody tough. They beat Syracuse by 12, lost to Marquette by 18, and then beat Toledo twice. So they have a lot to prove, but I've actually, for whatever reason, I've watched like 4 or 5 Buffalo games. So going with the Buffalo, I think they're the Bison.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah, I'm going Buffalo. I really spent too much time on Buffalo there. Go ahead and make your pick, Austin.
I'm on the Buffalo train as well.
Okay.
They made noise last year. They're better this year. Obviously 31-3. They haven't really played anyone, but I think that doesn't translate nearly as much as it does in college football. When you don't play people in college football, it is a difference. Basketball, there's just so much more that can happen. So Buffalo is the pick for me.
And then Texas Tech for me. I didn't spend much time on this one.
Yeah, no, Tech has done a really good job all year in the Big 12.
Really good
top 25. Team. Yep. I think it's kind of a no-brainer here. With I know Tech's been a bit of a sleeper Final Four pick. So,
yep.
So that moves us to 7-10. Another one. Nevada, who
Honestly, this besides like the 16 and the 2 versus the 15, this is one of the easiest picks for me, to be honest with you.
really
I love Nevada.
the Martin brothers.
Yeah, I have
back.
them. I have them rolling Florida.
Wow, whew. Boy,
I don't think Florida's that good. They're 19 and 15. They played Michigan. Michigan played one of their worst games against them this year, and still were able to win on the road. I like Nevada a lot. They don't really have any impressive wins or really. I mean, they only lost 4 times. They were in the top 5 at one point. They can score the ball. I just don't really think Florida's that good at 19 and 15. They did beat LSU twice. They got swept by Kentucky, swept by Tennessee, lost to Michigan State, lost to Florida State by 21. Nevada just, and it says right here, one of the most efficient teams on both ends of the court in the country. The Wolfpack loves to turn defense into offense. They're long. And then I think Jordan Caroline's their leader. He averages like 17 and 10, something like that. Mm-hmm. So then, like you said, the Martin twins, who combined to average 31 points per game, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. So I really, really like this Nevada team.
Yeah, I'm going Nevada. They hiccuped a little bit down the stretch, but I think they know how to play in this tournament.
7 seed was a little low for them, and I think it was kind of unfair for a team like Florida and a team like Michigan in the second round, because I think Nevada really gives Michigan fits. And tune in tomorrow to see what I break down that matchup a little more.
Fans. We've got Nevada, and then obviously I think we're both going to go Michigan, Montana. They played last year.
Yeah, which is another
supposed to happen.
Yeah, another interesting part of there was a joke going around that they were like they had after that, because obviously I'm sure you'd agree with this too. I mean, we're both Big Ten guys here. Committee doesn't really care about the Big Ten championship game because it's played on Sunday. And so they had Michigan playing Bradley. The joke was they had Michigan playing Bradley and Michigan playing Montana. And they said, all right, just throw State on one of them, and we'll go with that. Flip a coin and throw State at the end of one of them. So, and we got Bradley and they got Montana. So, but anyways, we'll get more into the Michigan State seeding stuff. People freaking out about it. I don't really think it's that big of a deal, but tomorrow.
Yeah.
So Virginia next.
Yep, Virginia. Yeah, agreed.
I don't think they lose to a 16 seed this year. This Virginia team's good.
Yes, they had. I think his last name's Hunter, was out last year with a wrist injury, and that ended up being kind of like a big deal.
The scary thing about them is they can score, and they hold their opponents to 55 points per game. So,
yeah, that's kind of like a staple of Virginia basketball.
That doesn't bode well for. Who in the hell are they playing?
Gardner Webb?
Yeah, that does not bode well for Gardner Webb. So, I guess we'll move on to Ole Miss and Oklahoma, to which I kind of think is another boring matchup. I don't really like either of these teams. I just kind of looked at Oklahoma went 19 and 13. They're in the Big 12, Ole Miss 20 and 12, whatever. I think Oklahoma going in 7-11 in the conference kind of turned me off of them. So I took Ole Miss in this one.
I went the other way. I did Oklahoma. Okay. I think they can score when they want to. Obviously, a little different.
Question.
It's a little different without Trae Young there, but they still got a lot of guys from that team last year. And when they're on, they're on. It's just a matter of they can get turned on there. So, I had Oklahoma. So we'll go. This is an interesting 5 and 12 matchup.
I thought it was until I realized Bol is hurt.
Less interesting, Wisconsin. It is okay.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard that on the radio yesterday because they were talking about how much they love the Ethan Happ Bol matchup, but they're like, oh, never mind, Bol's hurt. So, and they pretty much said the exact same thing Austin just said. Despite losing star 7'2" freshman Bol for the season in mid-December. Wow, shows how much me and Austin pay attention. But I mean, Pac-12. Who cares about Pac-12 basketball?
That's true.
Yeah, so no Bol to match up against Ethan Happ, who has not taken a jumper outside or a shot outside the key. I'm gonna go with Wisconsin in this one. I think Wisconsin's a team who I adamantly complain about how they play. I don't like Brad Davidson one bit, but I do think Wisconsin wins this game.
Yep, I agree. They're just gonna without Bol. I don't think Oregon's gonna really match up very well.
Agreed.
So takes us to Kansas State and UC Irvine. I'm going.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say I'm going with K-State.
Agreed.
I think it's Bruce Weber, the old Illinois coach.
Yep.
He got K-State. I think they want to share the Big 12, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. And
they were the number 1 overall seed in the Big 12 tournament. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
They lost, but they were.
Yeah, I like Kansas State a lot. I've always liked Kansas. Even like back when they made that run when they had Frank Martin. I forgot that player that they had too that I really liked a lot. I really like I don't know why I like them a lot, but like the program. But yeah, I don't know much about when UC Irvine went 30-5. Good for them. But yeah, I just think Kansas State too much firepower. End up outlasting it. I think UC Irvine can probably cause some havoc for this team, but I got Kansas State moving on.
Yeah, I agree. That takes us to the defending champions in an interesting spot.
Really tough one for me.
I know St. Mary's is pretty consistent, so go ahead, John.
Well, the thing about St. Mary's is they lost to Gonzaga the first 2 times by like they just got like 50 combined points. I think both games came out to be, and then they beat them in the conference tournament. So I think this is a popular upset game. St. Mary's went 22-11, where, I mean, they don't really play much. They lost to Gonzaga twice, lost to LSU, lost to Mississippi State, lost to Utah State, and beat New Mexico State by 15. I just think Jay Wright, I don't like this Villanova team one bit, but I just think Jay Wright, being who he is, the pedigree he coaches with, and how that program is, I think Villanova finds a way to escape an upset-minded St. Mary Gales team. But I think it's going to be close.
Yeah. Since St. Mary's 48-point loss to Gonzaga, it looks like they've been...
They lost by 48.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that happened. Don't know what else to say.
They that I think St. Mary's has been different since then. They've been, obviously a lot better on defense. I'm looking over the last 8 games here. St. Mary's allowing just 53.9 points, holding opposition to 38% shooting and 27 points or 27% from beyond the arc. That's pretty good defensively, but man, it's Jay Wright, it's Villanova. I don't think they're going to win it this year, but man, it's Villanova. And I think they're just, as up and down as they have been, I think they're going to do enough to win this game. And we already know my next pick. They'll see Purdue in the round of 32.
Yeah, agreed.
So then we just, Purdue against Old Dominion. We already broke that down. Cincinnati and Iowa, going Hawkeyes. What's your pick?
Agreed.
Yeah,
I run a friendly. I can run a couple of them. I run like a friendly one for so family members can get it. My mom's got Cincinnati in the championship game, losing to Michigan State. So go, Mom.
Wow, a bold move, Mom. A very bold move. Perhaps
she listens to both sides of these, so she's going to enjoy the shout out.
Perhaps you may want to rethink that after listening. But hey,
yeah, listening to our breakdown, you're getting free advice from the. I mean, I don't know who else you'd rather get advice from.
Yeah, you can either look online at experts, or you can listen to.
Yeah, see, they kind of
idiots.
So they kicked us off the expert wagon and put us on the idiot wagon, which I kind of disagree with, but. Maybe they do know what they're talking about. Tennessee.
Bold move. Next. Yeah, Tennessee. Tennessee.
North Carolina next.
North Carolina next. Yes. Utah State and Washington. I'm going Utah State.
I agree. I like Utah State a lot.
They had a pretty good year this year.
I really like these Mountain West teams this year for whatever reason. Yeah, I like Utah State. Lost to Houston by 10, beat Nevada, split with them, beat St. Mary's by 17. And then lost to
Wow.
Arizona State. I don't trust Pac-12 basketball. They always do absolutely horrible in the tournament. Outside of that one run Oregon made 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I just don't trust Pac-12 teams. I very rarely will pick one to win unless they are like a for sure thing. So
Yeah, and ever since UCLA's fall from grace,
yeah, they kind of
Pac-12's
got
been irrelevant.
they had a good recruiting class. They had Sharif O'Neal and
He had heart
Tiger-
surgery, so
yeah, Tiger Campbell, who was a Michigan State favorite for a while, who was one of the top point guards in the country, and he had season-ending groin surgery, I believe. So yeah, they lost their 2 best freshmen. But yeah, so other than Pac-12 not that good, Utah State I think wins by 10 comfortably.
yeah, I agree. Auburn, New Mexico State. Auburn for me.
Yeah, I agree. New Mexico State's interesting though at 30-4. Are they another Mountain West team? Maybe I should just stick with the Mountain West train.
I just, Auburn has been very up and down, but their team is really talented. They're really athletic. A lot of, they before they're up and down, a lot of them had a lot of experts thought they might make a run at the SEC. I think they pulled it together late, but
yeah, Auburn's weird for me. I don't really think they're great. I just also don't think they're bad enough. I mean, I don't want to call my Mountain West boys over here, but I think Auburn can take care of New Mexico State.
Yeah.
The next, I think Kansas wins this one comfortably against Northeastern.
We're used to or have been used to seeing, but yeah, I definitely agree. I think Kansas wins this game. I just realized the Midwest is the bracket of death, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I don't love a lot of teams in here, but I think it's the deepest. There's a lot of you got North Carolina, Kansas, Auburn at a 5 seed. Utah State I think is interesting. Wofford, who is everybody's favorite team right now. Houston, so Kentucky. So there's a lot of. This is a pretty scary. Yeah, actually, you know what? I would call it the best by far. Actually, probably the best bracket, best region.
Yeah. Yep. So.
Yeah, and then I think we got Iowa State and Ohio State, which God, I love the Big Ten bias, but I just don't think Ohio State really belongs.
I just don't think they've been so inconsistent. And I don't know anything about Ohio State.
Yeah, if Caleb Wesson's on, I feel like they could do it, but they're 1-8 versus top 25 teams, 1-4 the last 5 games. And they kind of, stuck with Michigan State in the first half a little bit, and then, man, Michigan State just poured it on them, and Ohio State kind of came back in garbage time, but they just kind of looked like a defeated team at the end of the season. So I think a team that I don't think belonged in Ohio State, going up against a team who I guess belongs. I don't know much about Iowa State. I don't think they're always kind of like that 5 seed that people watch out for. They're 6 seed this year, but I don't really think they're that good. I have Iowa State beating Ohio State.
Yeah, I think Ohio State is just too inconsistent for me to be confident in picking them in a big game situation. So I agree with you. I got Ohio State going on.
Houston,
so next,
Georgia State. This one's easy for me. I got Houston.
And I know everyone loves Georgia State because of their coach. Obviously, people remember him last year's the scooter coach that fell off the scooter, I think a couple times.
His son played for him a few years ago. Yeah, RJ Hunter.
Yep. So I've got Houston. So
I got Houston big.
Yeah, I think Houston's pretty good. Better, I think, at home, but obviously, I think they'll be fine right here.
Mm-hmm.
So Wofford and Seton Hall, interesting matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't everybody loves just absolutely loves Wofford. I don't know if it's because they went 18-0, but in their conference. But I definitely have Wofford winning this matchup. I think Seton Hall is always a tough team to play. I just don't think they have. Let me double check this before I go. Yeah, they're not horrible on offense. They're not the best. Wow, BPI rank Wofford 17th. Don't necessarily know what all goes into the BPI, but it sounds cool, so we'll run with it. Wofford scores 83 points per game and only allows 65. They lost to North Carolina by 11, lost to Kansas by 25, okay, can we give me something good here? Wofford. No, they lost to Mississippi State by 11, lost to Oklahoma by 11, beat Furman twice, baby. Wow, Seton Hall beat Kentucky. I forgot about that earlier in the year. Beat Maryland, beat Marquette twice. Wow, okay, Seton Hall's beating some teams. I'm still sticking with Wofford. I don't know why, but I'm going with them.
Wofford's a really good shooting team, and they've just been playing really well lately. So I've got Wofford as well, despite Seton Hall's impressive resume. And last but not least, Kentucky and Finn.
Yep. Now, do we want to just release our Final Four teams? Do we want to wait for all that tomorrow? Like, no breakdown or anything, just kind of release them? Or do we just want to wait for us to do the Sweet 16 and on breakdown tomorrow? It's up to you.
It doesn't matter. What do you want to do?
I mean, we can. Do we have? I mean, we don't really need to fill on the show, but I feel like we'd be doing Purdue fans a little injustice if we don't kind of give them our Final Four.
Agreed.
So do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
Go ahead.
All right. God, making me look like a homer here. I got Michigan State in the Final Four.
Okay.
Yep, I know. I'll break it down tomorrow. I got Gonzaga, Virginia, and Houston. And then I got Michigan State losing to Virginia in the finals.
Huh. So I actually just did a quick bracket with our mirroring my picks from when we were discussing, but I've come down to Duke, Texas Tech, Tennessee, and Kentucky.
I like the Texas Tech.
In the Final Four, I think Kentucky and Duke match up in the championship game, and I think Duke's going to take it.
See, the thing that scares me about Duke is, like I said, and I know, and I'm probably overthinking it, but man, like, I just feel like if they can't, like, I don't know, they would be by far the worst 3-point shooting team to ever win the national title by far. They're like literally 5 away from being the worst shooting team in the 3-point shooting team in the country, and they can't shoot free throws well at all. And with how much hype they're getting, like how much of a heavy favorite they seem to be, I just think they have like, and I'm sure I'm overthinking. It just seems to be like too good to be true almost.
Well, I normally I would maybe stop and think about what you're saying there.
But I also know that they have a guy named Zion Williamson who's probably the best NBA prospect since Anthony Davis. So, I don't disagree with people who are going with Duke. I'm just kind of putting a caution flag on Duke.
It's for me, I just think I'm looking at what their route would look like.
It's pretty simple.
UCF,
Michigan State,
Virginia Tech. They're familiar with Virginia Tech. I think they will overwhelm UCF. And then Michigan State will be their first test. And I don't know, because Michigan State is a well put together team, but they're short on depth. And you're gonna have to try and defend Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett, and Zion Williamson. I just think that's tough.
I think where they do lack in depth on the wing, I think is where you can. But you're getting a guy like Nick Ward back, who's not 100%. But these are all. I forgot who I was watching. Somebody had Michigan State winning it all. They had. I think it was Andy Katz actually breaking this down. They have all this depth at a guy like Zion who cannot shoot well from the free throw line. None of them really can. You have 5, or let's see, you got Goins, Ward, Kithier, and Tillman. So 4 guys, and then I guess you can throw a guy like Gabe Brown in, who can just go out there. They each can give you they're not all going to foul you 5 times, but you got fouls to give, which you didn't when Nick Ward was out. So if you kind of just not obviously intentionally foul the whole game, but kind of play physical with Duke, send them to the line. I think that's the best way. Make them take those 3-point shots that RJ Barrett falls in love with a lot of the time when he tries to play hero ball. I think Duke's beatable, and I think I don't like if me making this pick. I'm not like certain on it. It's more so of me trying to win a bracket pool at some point too, because everybody has Duke winning. But I also do think Michigan State, given Thomas was 1-11 against Coach K, but there's something, and obviously I'm a homer, but there's something about this Michigan State team that I just love this year. All the adversity they've gone through, they just seem to keep on going. This has been one of Izzo's best coaching jobs that I've seen him have, and I love this team, and I think they can get to the Final Four. I think Duke is by far the best team in the country, but a lot of the times when you have those heavy favorites to go in and just win the title and no one else is talking about really anyone else, I think those teams tend to lose.
Yeah, and if Michigan State had Josh Langford, I
would feel more comfortable with it.
Agreeing with you, but I look at the matchups. Michigan State is a gritty team, but
the key thing that's going to happen in this game is if Cassius or McQuaid get in foul trouble, they're done. If Cassius and McQuaid pick up 2 quick fouls, they're done because those are the only 2 guys on the perimeter who can guard anybody.
And that's the thing.
The X factor, before I get crazy into this, and I'll break it down more tomorrow, the X factor for Michigan State this whole tourney is going to be Aaron Henry.
Yeah,
the freshman small forward who plays the 3. His defensive capability when Michigan State switched him onto Iggy Brezdinkis in the second half of the Big Ten championship game, he gave him fits, and he's super athletic, can drive to the basket, and we're going to need him in the tournament. He's the X factor for the tournament because Cash is going to give you everything. Tillman's going to play his ass off on defense. McQuaid's going to be McQuaid, Goins, all those guys. You know what you're going to get from those guys. I think it all depends on, unfortunately, for the 18-year-old kid, how far he can make a step forward in scoring and defending for this team.
Yeah. I mean, again, I definitely know more. Not that I don't know that too much about Michigan State, but again, I'm just not in love with the matchups. I just think it's going to be too much trying to stop the big athletic guys.
When you don't have one NBA player on your roster playing a team that's loaded, I completely understand why people may think I'm crazy. I just have a weird feeling about this Michigan State team. Obviously, I'm a Michigan State fan, but to be fair, I haven't picked Michigan State to win a title in like 4 years. I actually had them losing in the Sweet 16 last year, so I don't always do this for people's information. I take my brackets very seriously, so and I never do well with them. But,
me either. No.
So there's something about this Michigan State team I love. Obviously, a lot of good stories like this come to an end sooner rather than later. And Michigan State could easily lose in the second round or the third, Sweet 16. So it's not even for sure they play Duke. Maybe Virginia Tech does us a favor. I don't think so, but I just have a good feeling. So before I go on, obviously I'll talk about Michigan State a lot tomorrow. So
yeah, and we'll continue on after the we'll figure out. We'll make sure we'll get some episodes in during the tournament, and I don't know how far we'll get into the tournament by the weekend. But we'll definitely try and put an episode out. If it's quicker, maybe we'll turn around and do one quicker to keep up. But that is all the time we have. So we broke down our round of 64 as the tournament kicks off. Technically, it kicked off last night, but actually all the seeds are set and the game starts. Right. Games will start tomorrow. So, John, any final thoughts?
No, because if I do give any final thoughts, I will I'll ramble on. Gonna continue my hate for the Barnes court. Dislike their court very much. Other than that, I am all set with what I had to say.
All righty. Well, with that being said, as always, I'm Austin, co-host John Emmons. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you heard tonight, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Voice of the Fan, and also give us a listen on SoundCloud. And if you could, like our page on Facebook at Voice of the Fan and follow us on Twitter at Voice of the Fan PC. Thanks, everyone.